back to another video, man. This joint, man. Um, we want to go ahead and talk about, break down a few things. We're gonna expand our little subject or topic of just development, self-development, right? So, in terms of self-development, I mean, it's important that we understand that self-development is basically just the extension of ourselves, right? Developing yourself as an extension, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of taking those natural skills and then carving those out in sort of technical functions to try to be able to create a way in which your natural skill can impact society in a way. Because natural skills, like I always say, by themselves, they have to have a technical vehicle um, in order to benefit society in a way, right? However, they can and should be crafted out by themselves, right? Especially like the more and more we um, go further and further in time, the more and more essential it is to carve out and develop natural skills, right? Developing natural skills is important, right? And what are natural skills? Natural skills are skills that are basically, for example, like a signature. When you write a signature, it's something that can't be copied by any other person, right? It's your specific. Doing footwork drills, right? You can't fully copy the way in which somebody else moves in terms of doing footwork drills or just hopping on a ladder or doing hopscotch or having cones or whatever, right? You can only mimic the pattern, but you can't mimic the rhythm in the way in which they do that pattern, right? So same concept, right? So these are natural skills, right? It's something, the signature, it's something that separates you from everybody else, right? Um, anyway, yeah, it's carving out these things right here, your natural skills, things that bring you peace, your gifts, and these type of things right here. You know what I'm saying? Carving out these things right here, and putting them into technical functions. That way they can impact society in a way, right? And also being able to sustain the technical functions that we get into, right? And in terms of sustaining these technical functions, this is developing complementary skills. Complementary skills being skills that you use in order to sustain yourself in the technical function and to be more impactful in the technical function, right? So, for example, a complementary skill would be your aim and focus, right? If you take time out of your day to individually develop yourself, not necessarily in the technical function itself, but in the complementary skill of developing your aim or critical thinking or focus or one of these type of different things, this will make you that much more impactful in the technical function as opposed to how impactful you would be, say, that you just develop it in just a technical function, right? Like say on the basketball court, there's players who develop themselves every day, day after day, just strictly on the basketball court and develop the technical function. And then there's people who develop themselves outside of the basketball court and develop complementary skills or assisting skills or transferable skills, right? That can translate back to the game and make them that much more impactful in the game because the way that their approach to the game has changed. They can now see the basketball game in a different angle in order to better perform the functions on the basketball court. And people really can't, what I'm saying, which gives them more advantage over other people because they can see the game from a different angle. When this is the case, also too, it's you have a lot more options and you have a lot more opportunities to affect the game, right? And to really put your touch or emphasis on something, because you can see in different angles. You have more opportunities because you can see more ways to affect, what I'm saying, affect the game, right? So, understanding that, it's like, why wouldn't you want to go ahead and develop some complementary skills and, experience some new things in order to transfer that stuff back to, always looking for ways to try to figure something out that can transfer back into what you're doing, right? And a lot of times in a lot of people's cases, and I know, in my case specifically, it's like, saying we need that. We need to, like just go out and develop and just learn a lot of different outside the box things that you can just go ahead and apply back into what you're doing because, some people have a bigger vision, you know, and, that vision, I mean, it does require you to be able to, like, go like all the way outside the box and all the way out the way to try to learn some things and figure some things out. Yeah, man, that's just it for like, what I'm saying, a lot of most people like sometimes, man, it's just getting outside the box and just learning a few different things, man, and just being open-minded to just learn a few different things from, what I'm saying, that could really help you in whatever your vision is, right? So, you know, who knows, man? It might be requiring you to do things that you don't expect or experience things that you wouldn't expect, and just catching up knowledge and insight off that. And like I said, just being knowledge based, trying to learn more. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes some things that may seem like a curse, or not a curse, but some things that may seem like a hindrance to you may end up being, an actual blessing in disguise, um, type sort of thing, right? And shoot, you just gotta be, sometimes, man, you just gotta be crazy enough to really, or delusional enough to go for it. You know what I'm saying? Because rationality, a lot of times, I feel like a lot of times we're not delusional enough in our own system, in our own psychology, which will lead us to not be strong enough to fulfill the dreams that we, that we pursue. And I think another thing too for a lot of us, to be honest, is just like reinforcing some of the things that when something just feel off, like just when things like something don't feel right, or like you just in an environment and it just certain things that just don't feel right. It's just actually taking the time. You know what I'm saying? It's the little things that they would call petty, is to be petty to like what you feel sometimes, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And really take care of that because this part you'll find something in that, Um, you'll find something in that, like some of them things they tell you to just, you know, it ain't no big deal, right? It be things like that, right? And to be able to go against the grain, and really just assess those things, man. And that's what comes with carving out your natural self, doing little things like that and just being saying very detailed and particular about, what you, your critical thoughts and like, what you think about yourself and like, just your curiosity and just learning and stuff, you know. Because I know me specifically. I mean, sometimes it gets to a point now like where it almost feels like you just don't want to learn anything and you just don't got no motivation to really just keep going and keep growing and stuff like that. And it's just like, um, I feel like that's just the time to be very particular and very detailed about like individual specific things that you can really tweak, and adjustments you can make, what I'm saying, in order to bring out more of an impact. You feel me? So, with that being said, to get back to the main subject, it's a lot of different things, what I'm saying, that come into play in terms of carving out your natural skills. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I made a lot of videos, like one just being about like encoding versus decoding. You know what I'm saying? Your focus level, like you know what I'm saying. When like, it's focusing on the message, you know what I'm saying, and everything complimentary, just let it be what it is. You feel me? Or maybe don't let it be what it is, but just understand that the message is more important and being like message oriented. You know, I think it's the number one thing. Because the message is gonna get you a lot farther than anything else. You know, so just being message oriented and just trying to be like um focused on that, sustained in that regard, and like you know what I'm saying, bump everything else. Like that's the main thing too. Um um you know what I'm saying. Uh, and last but not least, I mean, focusing on the music you're listening to, right? Of course, we talk about music, making sure we listen to the music and stuff. You know, there's certain particular songs that put you in that certain specific space to do whatever you need to do. But also as well, we talked about nutrition, right? And knowing how to, just eat the right foods that put you in a specific spot. I know I talked about a lot by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like brain foods, like say you want to study, you know what I'm saying? You probably gonna, want to cook some blueberries, you know what I'm saying? Or some type of like, something that's going, or bananas, man. Like me, if I'm going to go study or something, I'll make me some vegan banana, blueberry, uh, peanut butter nut cookies or whatever, right? Or something like that, you know, that I can eat. That's going to help me focus better. But, you know what I'm saying? The same thing is, when you talk about the way you train yourself. And I think that's the one other thing that we have to incorporate too and put all three pieces together because like, the way you specifically train yourself, you know what I'm saying, is what you'll get a direct impact out of in terms of how you function in your own day-to-day life, right, and what you want to do, right? So like, if there's a specific thing that you want to do, you have to specifically, or you should specifically train yourself in that way in order for you to get that result you want to get. Like balance, for instance, right? If I'm someone who is just, in a space to where I'm just authentically creating something, that's coming from the most depth version of myself, I'm gonna work on my balance. You know what I'm saying? Like in order to, because balance is like, is really tied to mental stability. Because it's just the way your hips and your foot, the balls of your feet, pretty much are interconnected to certain pieces and parts of the brain. So it's like actually struggling to balance, those muscles and stuff is actually, you know, it's almost like strengthening the mind and brain to be to stabilize itself. So you know what I'm saying? Like being able to take some of these technical functions or training functions that you can do and, use them as an extension of yourself to get the best result for yourself is, the most important thing as well in order to like sustain a proper like stable body. But like last but not least, it really don't matter how much of these things that you put together, whether it's your nutrition, um, whether it's the functions, the training you do, right, the exercises, the technical functions you do, or whether it's your whether it's like what you watch. I mean, which is probably the biggest thing because that's a mental development thing. But like whatever it may be, you still have to actually execute and do that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the most important thing, is the actual doing part. I mean, you can talk about organization, organizing yourself and everything, doing all these different things, right? But at the end of the day, you have to commit to doing all these different things. You got to commit to it in order to really get the results you want, right? Because as much as people can say it, and as much as we can know the answer to whatever it is that we know the answer to, you still have to actually get up and actually do that thing, you know. And I think that's the biggest thing for people to do, and again, that comes within the system itself, you know. Um, uh, Nutrition, right? You have to be willing to actually get up and actually go and take care of your nutrition. You feel me? So there's a catch to everything, you know. So like regardless of what the answer is, you still have to actually take the steps and go and actually bring about that answer, whatever that answer may be. And we have to like actually start kind of like the most difficult thing I think for me in like deep programming is actually getting the concepts of what we're trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like understanding the importance of the concepts that we're learning because a lot of times when it comes to the concepts, the concepts that we're learning, we can devalue them just because of of what we're specifically talking about, especially when we talk about mental stability. Sometimes when we talk about mental stability and we tell you to watch shows or to go watch something that will help you channel or put or mentally put you in a space to where you can function better. Sometimes we neglect that aspect because we're so used to a society that's just work oriented and just always being active, right? And we don't really understand the aspect of rest or the aspect of some of these other seemingly unimportant things and which can cause us to overlook them and not do them, which can have a much more dramatic effect. It's about time that we start looking and seeing in the perspective of aspects, right, and how adjustments, right, and how we can make tweaks to our systems and try to stop making these drastic changes. I think that you know, it's all about, I think that a lot of our problems and a lot of the things that we face are just adjustments. And they're not even just like total not on like people's systems and what they do. I think that, if we can like slow down the mind enough to actually focus on adjustments, then like, people will see a much more effective, a much more effective lifestyle and be able to win a lot more of those battles that they're losing. um, or that they're struggling with. Um, so I think that's the shift, you know, and I think that's the change. Most specifically, is just an adjustment and being able to really just understand, specifically what it is, regardless of feeling, no feelings attached to it, like what it is that needs to be adjusted, and what things um, need to be strengthened. And then it's just like, a matter of actually committing to doing those things, right? And there's a million ways we can go about this in a scientific manner. Like, if there's something specific that you have to do and you don't feel like doing it, there's plenty of, you fall back into the nutrition aspect, and there's plenty of things that you can eat or that you can, drink or whatever that will give you the strength in order for you to go and achieve what you need to do, right? There's plenty of different ways you can make sure you're drinking water, staying hydrated, all these different things that's going to help you to actually go and do those things that you need to do, right? That you need to do in order to get the effect that that you're trying to get for whatever you're trying to do, right? So I think it's a matter of being able to put all these different things together, regardless of how seemingly complicated it may be. And this is where imagination is actually important, right? This is another reason why imagination is so important, because a lot of times we can overlook some of these things that we need simply because we can't conceive the fact that we need them, right? It's because our imagination isn't deep enough, and we just don't have the faith to believe that what we're thinking and the solutions that we're coming up with are real, right? It's almost like we think everything is simplistic, when sometimes everything really ain't simplistic. Sometimes things are a little bit complicated, and the methods that we come up with in order for dealing with certain situations are not as cut and dry as, as they would seem, as you would think they would seem. And it's not because, you just thinking outside the, you just trying to do things no, sometimes this is just a real life answer. Sometimes you got to go through a mathematical equation of steps in order to get something done. Some things require that, to bring to bring about the exact effect that you want to bring about. So, and it's important to maintain your psychological systems anyway. Because they're your psychological systems, and you're gonna take that same psychological system into another problem. So it's, you know what I'm saying. So whatever that is, it's important to be able to, do it in that structured way and just follow through the process, man. Like, regardless, it's almost like working out authentically, man. Like, when you work out a muscle, you want to go through the full. You want to make sure you hit that muscle as fully as possible. You ain't trying to, you know what I'm saying, then, you don't want to lose form. You're not trying to change because you're not getting a full workout of that bicep or that muscle, right? So, like, you want uh the full workout and the full extension of that muscle, right? So that's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If whoever can catch that. Um, but yeah, man, like, literally, I ain't gonna hold y'all too much longer in this video right here. We've been going for a minute, but um I think some of these things, these gems, you know, I think it's just some things that people can actually focus on a little bit more. And I feel like if we make some of these adjustments, you know, a lot of the problems that we face and a lot of problems that we have, like I said, can be a lot more controlled, you know. It's really just the aspect of just believing in ourselves and what we think. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and taking heed of that, you know what I'm saying, regardless of anybody else's opinion. And we gotta start to, disregard this old aspect of just, just like how just how, you know what I'm saying, just how people go about things. Like, it's really not working in this new age of authenticity, um, because it just don't fit authentic concepts. It just don't fit. It just don't fit them. It just it fits into a society that's one way, and it fits into a one way type of functioning. You know what I'm saying? So like it's trying to put old concepts on to new um newly structured beings. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's gonna cut it. Right? I think we have to really get imaginative, and I feel like the greatest power you can have right now is most definitely in your own creativity and your own imagination brought forth. You know what I'm saying? So I, because if you can train that, you can conceive or perceive some of these things that's going on and some of the solutions and come up with some of the solutions to them. You know what I'm saying? That way you don't get stuck, and that way you don't get caught in like a realm or a bundle of just confusion and like, what am I supposed to be doing? I got all this, I got all that. Nah, you got all the answers to everything you need. You just need to sit back and actually uh, commit and execute what those things are. You know what I'm saying? You really don't need no help, for real. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shit, you really got it. Like at the end of the day, last time I checked, with the human brain, if you sit down with a problem long enough, you're gonna come up with a solution to it. As last time I checked. So I'm really not, you know what I'm saying, going for none of that. Not, you know what I'm saying, none of that mess. You feel me? So, but yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not gonna hold that too long. Um, I'm gonna conclude this video in a second, man. But last thing I wanna put on that last note I just said, you know what I'm saying, is is the fact that um when you talk about carving yourself out, like authentically, like if you can use your imagination and if you can just trust and believe in the solutions that you come up with and execute those solutions, then you don't have no problems. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot tougher now, like it's a lot more energy shifts and a lot more other type of stuff going on. But at the end of the day, the greatest power that I think that people can really have now is just their imagination. You know what I'm saying? The strength to imagine, you know what I'm saying, and be creative, you know what I'm saying? That way you can come up with a solution to some of the problems that you face. And honestly, the imagination and creativity and stuff like that, especially stuff that comes from a deep place, is actually an immunity system to a lot of mental health too. I believe. I believe that's an immunity to mental health. But anyway, I'm gonna conclude this video right here. And like I said, that stuff is difficult to actually carve out because of what society values or what we say we value. You know what I'm saying? And which is just like consistently working, consistently, you know what I'm saying, doing these things. But you know what I'm saying? A lot of times when we try to work like that, we're not being as effective and as impactful. And sometimes if we just took the back seat and just chilled out and sit back for a little bit, we'd be a lot more impactful, a lot more effective than just running all over the place. Um, I'm speaking for myself too on a lot of these points. You know what I'm saying? Which I will, which I know me specifically after this video, I'm gonna do a lot better at that. Anyway, I'm gonna conclude this video right here. I ain't gonna hold you no longer. Peace, love. We out. Let's get it.